Yo, what's up everyone? In this video, we'll be learning about Lambda functions, also known as anonymous functions. So, let's dive right in. Lambda functions are functions that do not have a name. They are also known as anonymous functions, and they are a concise way to create a small, single-use function without needing to define them using the standard def keyword. So this is the syntax of creating a lambda function. You just write the keyword lambda, then you put your arguments, then a full colon, then your expression. So let us see an example. In the past videos, we have been writing a function called add numbers that was adding some numbers. So I can just say that function again. So add numbers takes two parameters a and b, then it returns the sum of a and b. So I'll return the sum of a and b. So this is the normal way of creating functions. You can see this function has a name, and we said that to call it you can just write add numbers, then you put some parentheses. This is how you invoke the function, but you also have to provide some arguments there. So this is what I've been doing for the past videos. In this video, you want to see a concise way of creating the same function, and will not need this name. So you just write the lambda keyword, just say lambda, then you put your arguments, in this case a and b, then you put your full colon there, then you put the return statements, or what the function will do. In this case I can just write a plus b. So this is what the function does, it just adds a and b. But since this function does not have a name, we have to store it in a variable. And treating functions as a value is known as treating function as first-class citizen. We saw that when learning about the return statement, we saw that if you run a function, it returns, and it has a single return statement, it can return one value. And you can use that value for future reference or future other things. So in this case, if you run a function, in this case you run this add numbers and you call it the value 3 and 4, it will return 7. So we can store that value and use it later. So in this lambda function, since we know that this function will return a value, we can store that function in a variable. Maybe I can call that variable, let's say, add. So I'm treating this function as a value. Okay. Then, to invoke this function, as usual, I'll just call the add. I'll call this add because this add is a variable and it contains this function. So I'll just call that add, then I call it with any arguments that I want. And if I'm just using this example, I'll just call it with 3 and 4. So let me just remove this, the normal way that we are doing it, and let us just save this and run it and see if it works. So if I run it like that, it will give me 7. Sorry, I forgot to print. Maybe I can just add a print statement here so that it can print in the terminal. But you can see there's no error. So that means our code is just fine. But let me just add a print statement here so that these results can be printed in the terminal. So if I run this again, it should print 7 in the terminal. So you can see our code is just working as the function that we had initially. But this time, our function is just a one-line statement. And that is how you use the lambda function. You just write functions in a concise way. So yeah, that is it with the lambda functions. See you in the next video. Peace out.